So I've been rewatching Fairy Tail. It's been pretty nice remembering all the fun characters, the good soundtrack, and the fact that everyone hates it. It's all great stuff. But I also remembered some really minor changes A1 Pictures made while adapting the manga to the anime that made a really big difference to me. So this is Lizana. In the show, she's the younger sister of the characters Mira Jane and Elfman, and she died in a flashback from years before the series started. And in the manga, she's kinda just a flashback character who died, at least until some really complicated stuff happened in the Edelus arc, but she's not really much to comment on. But the anime did something that was actually pretty compelling with her without making all that many changes. You see, Fairy Tail's a pretty big culprit of putting spoilers for upcoming characters and plot beats in their OPs and EDs, like for instance how they start using their third OP, which is mainly dedicated to the Tower of Heaven arc, in the middle of the Phantom Lords arc. But when making the second ED, A1 Pictures did something pretty crafty with these spoilers. After about a minute and a half of just some chibis with a few fully detailed drawings of the main characters that don't really have any meaning, the ED ends with this picture of Lizana and Natsu, the protagonist. This picture is the first time Lizana ever appears in the show, and the way the picture is implemented seems specifically designed to make the audience want to know who she is. She's the only picture in the entire ED to be drawn in full detail aside from the main characters, and the picture is the last thing that is shown in the ED, thus making it the last thing in the show aside from the preview for the next episode, and both of these things make Lizana feel like a much more important character than any of the other characters introduced in the OP or ED. In addition, the fact that Lizana's guild symbol is very prominently shown and the fact that she clearly has a close bond with Natsu makes it feel like she was already an important part of the narrative, making the viewers very intrigued as to who she is and what role she'll play in the show. And the fact that this ED plays in every episode from 12 until the one she's explained in constantly reminds the viewer that she exists. Then the show eventually gets to episode 20, which is adapting a side story that was originally published well after Lizana was introduced and explained but has now been moved to before then. This side story is a flashback to when the characters were kids and has Lizana as one of the main characters of the episode. By moving this episode to before the audience knows anything about Lizana beyond what the ED tells us, it raises even more intrigue about her, giving new energy to the people who watch the ED while also changing the question they were asking from "Who is Lizana?" to "What happened to Lizana?" It also creates intrigue about Lizana for the people who didn't watch the ED. All of this build-up works together to make people a lot more invested in Lizana than they would have been reading the manga, where she's just introduced in the flashback that kills her and gives Fairy Tail an element of mystery that it doesn't usually do, or at least doesn't usually handle very well. These small changes were so impactful to me my first time watching the series through a couple years ago, during which I only got to about the Grand Magic Games, that they alone made Lizana one of my favorite characters in the show. Overall, I think this is just a really creative use of spoilers, and I'd like to see other anime try something similar.